For many, this is a very important place along the river, and I will now read a story by Anita Diamond of her experience along the Charles. Anita Diamond, a resident of Watertown, is well known for her books. The most recent one is Day After Night. She's also well known for the Red Tent, which made the New York Times bestseller list. It's called A Calm So Deep. There are two ways to drive from the airport to my house. One is a straight shot on a wide highway that requires almost nothing in the way of animal cunning to navigate. The other road twists and bends and scares the wits out of novices. I am no hot dog, but I always choose the second road. It follows the river. Look, I say to my out-of-town guests in any season, I say, isn't it wonderful? They agree, of course, because it's patently wonderful to have a river in your city. I do not mean to slight neighborhood lakes and ponds, nor is a harbor view anything to sneeze at. Any body of water is like a sigh of relief in the non-stop urban conversation. Every vista that turns sunlight into liquid stars gives respite and healing to eyes weary from pavement and page. Wherever there is water, people are permitted to behave in ways that look suspicious anywhere else. Loitering is, after all, a crime. But in the unspoken name of reverie, water blesses long lapses of purpose and industry. Sitting by the dock of the bay or on the bank of the stream, everyone is a happy vagrant. I am, however, especially fond of city rivers because they disappear and reappear and remind me that there is actually an ancient organic reason that these towers and stop signs and garbage trucks stand on this particular spot. I live where I live because of a river, which once fed and gave drink as well as transport to the people who settled its banks. Now, of course, its usefulness is not only forgotten, but wounded. We talk about the health of the river as though it draws breath. Will it recover? Will it ever again regain its vitality? There ought to be river reports on the evening news, along with the weather. Those silly men who are never more than half right about the sky's performance should take a moment to tell us whether the river is low today or high, and inform us when it freezes clear through and when the first mallard nestling are sighting. I keep an eye on the river mostly from the car. It never portrays its problems. It invites everyone to come on down. I like to go with a cup of coffee and a book, but I never get around to reading. There is too much going on. There are sculls and gulls to keep track of, and sometimes a kayak. I count the number of cameras and easels. I study the joggers' gaits. I peek at the freshman lovers, and I try to stay alert for the sound of water lapping, audible between truck roars. I walk a bit to see the river widen and then narrow, and noticed how much the breadth of the water changes my understanding of chimneys and windows. And I look around to see who is out and about on its bend. A pond can be gentrified, but the river is more stubbornly democratic in the way it meanders through all sorts of neighborhoods. The river says, "Lay down your sword and shield," and I know one long stretch where the nation unites from one summer to the next over spicy variations of barbecue chicken. The Russians come with folding chairs. The Cambodians bring fishing rods. Balls and frisbees fly. Students discourse, couples coo, and friends catch up on other friends. I have taken people to the river in order to confess, to lay plans, to end things. A river makes a wonderful backdrop. I attended a wedding by the river. I fell into it once too when the sailboat went over. The mud smelled bad on the mast, but otherwise the experience was more exciting than alarming. I have walked its shores for miles in the dark, surrounded by a throng, to the concert with the fireworks. And I still have a scar from a fall during a bicycle ride taken while the path was being repaired. But even at the distance the river makes its peace. When the morning commuters come rumbling out of the subway tunnel and over the bridge, the water view makes them forget themselves and perk up. Maybe it makes them remember the last time they stared out at sea. The city looks lovely but not imposing. The river puts things into perspective. I feel sorry for people from the other side of town who have never seen the fog hang wraith-like upside down on the river surface, or the red and green lights guiding starboard and aft in the dark, hung on arches whose curve date from Rome, which sits on the Tiber. Sometimes, even in the middle of the city, you can catch the river scent, the cool, neutral, sweet scent of fresh water. It smells wonderful. That's a story that Anita Diamond wrote quite a while ago, and but it's still so relevant. Let's go back to the images. In case you have just joined us, this is the show, the Charles River Parkland show of the Charles River Conservancy. And if you want to see the beginning of the show, you can go to YouTube where you can see the show. We have here a watercolor of the lagoon where we have water in the background, then a strip of land and sailboats and MIT in the background. And here the artist got a little bit freer and just captured the water and the colors and the shades. We're moving upriver, and we are now here at the Weeks Bridge, a wonderful structure built to carry the steam to the business school, designed by McKim, Mead and White. And it's a place where at the full moon people dance the tango. It's a place where a lot of students cross, people dance, people go to watch the head of the Charles. It's also the place where river sing takes place. Every year in the fall, at the beginning of the autumn, is the autumnal equinox, when revels helps the community to sing. Thousands of people gather at the Weeks Bridge to celebrate the arrival of the fall. A watercolor just upriver from the Weeks Bridge about the Sunday Parkland Games. Every Sunday afternoon in the summer, the Charles River Conservancy organizes the games, with games for children, games for people of all ages. When Memorial Drive is closed, a wonderful place to go, and kayakers come along, stand-up paddle surfers come, and it's a joyous scene that I hope you'll join sometime. Great shade trees near the Weeks Bridge. As part of the Parkland Games, under those shade trees are yoga sessions in the late afternoon overlooking the water of the Charles. We're now moving further upriver. We're still standing at the Weeks Bridge. We see the balustrade and we look at the Weld Boat House and just see a little glimpse of the Anderson Bridge, which we see here from the upriver side, with some daffodils painted by Caroline Neuberger. She painted that to celebrate the fact that the Charles River Conservancy has been planting 10,000 bulbs every fall, and so there are now 30,000 daffodil bulbs in the ground, planted by volunteers. We have close to 300 volunteers every year, so come out in the spring and enjoy those daffodils. We're going further upriver because it was misty that day. You don't even see the buildings, although we're still in a densely urban area close to the Mount Auburn Hospital. Nan Howe created this wonderful tree, really capturing the beauty. And our next picture is of a boathouse, the Cambridge Boat Club. And I will now read a story by John de Villars. John de Villars is a rower. He was also the administrator of the New England region of the EPA, the Environmental Protection Agency, and he has been an amazing advocate for swimming. So let me read his story. My Walden in the City by John de Villars. We all have our Waldens, the places that define our connection to nature and where in presence of imagination we find peace and comfort in our lives. The Charles River is one of those places for me. For the better part of 40 years I have the good fortune to live within 5-minute walk of the river, and in that time it has been a rare day when my life, like so many others, has not been enriched as a consequence. Some of the pleasures are simple and solitary. An early morning row as the sun rises over Beacon Hill, a peaceful afternoon on the riverbank with a good book in hand, an evening walk along the esplanade as the sun sets over Cambridge. Other pleasures come in the company of tens, even hundreds or thousands of others celebrating Earth Day at the Hatchell or International Excellence at the head of the Charles Regatta. Fun has been had and friendships formed and strengthened in touch football and softball games on the river's playing fields, in picnics on the banks, and hand-in-hand strolls with friends and family at the edge. Running, biking and cross-country skiing along the river, rowing and skating on it, swimming in it, the mighty Charles has brought each of these pleasures to my life and generations of others. The diverse character of the Charles is part of what makes this 80-mile treasure so special as it winds its way through 35 communities from its upper reaches, which provide naturalists the unspoiled opportunity to explore all of its rich flora and fauna, to catch a sunfish or spy an egret, to its basin, a hub of urban activity with trains crossing over it, cars whizzing alongside, and aquatic vessels from tour boats to sailboards transecting it. I'm a city kid, and it is this aspect of the river that has the most appeal to me. I love looking downstream from Mass Avenue Bridge and seeing a Red Line train gliding over the Longfellow Bridge with sailboats in the foreground, the Zakin Bridge beyond and the Golden Dome to the side. History, commerce, recreation, people moving, some intent on a destination, others content to simply drift. The city that once alive with activity and fixed in time, its architectural and natural beauty coming together as one. For those who love cities, the Charles is special for another reason as well. A river once derided in song, dirty water, is now celebrated as a national model for urban ecological restoration, a textbook example of how citizen activists and government leaders can come together to achieve ambitions that few thought possible. For the Charles, that ambition has been to transform a river into which, just 15 years ago, 1.7 billion gallons of untreated sewage and storm flowed each year into a river safe for swimming now. That ambition, once dubbed Mission Impossible by the skeptics, is now very close to reality. Those discharges have been cut by more than 90%, and bacteria levels today meet state swimming standards most days of the year. Now those same citizen leaders and public agencies are hard at work finishing the job of the cleanup and embarking on a final chapter, finding a permanent place for safe, accessible public swimming in the Charles River. The result will be yet another reason for future generations to see the Charles as their Walden too. Let's go back to the pictures after this wonderful story by John de Villars, and we are going a little bit further upriver, the Elliott Bridge, and here a final picture by Frank Constantino, a real master artist. And here somebody tried her hand at the whole river and the Parklands. And here are the donors, and we are coming to the end of the show, and I want to thank you all for listening to the Charles River Conservancy Parkland show. You can find us on YouTube. You can go to our website to find out more. Thank you very much.